Sirasa Telethirayen.
A very good evening. It's the 5th of November 2023. Welcome to the primetime news here on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I am Janata. Before we take a look at the stories that we've got for you this evening, let's first take a look at the headlines. Manufacturer of the controversial stock of substandard immunoglobulin drug had used blood from the National Blood Bank. Health Professionals Association makes bombshell revelation.
ජාතික රුධිර මධ්‍යස්ථානයෙන් ඔහු රුධිරය අරන් තියෙනවා. හැබැයි ඔහු රුධිරය අරන් තියෙන්නේ පර්යේෂණයක් සඳහා කියලා.
Power supply disconnected to about 800,000 consumers. CEB Employees Union says electricity can be supplied at cheaper rates.
Transmission distribution cost එක ගියාම රුපියල් 10 යුනිට් එක වගේ දෙන්න පුළුවන්.
Opposition leader alleges that taxes are being amended to benefit businessmen close to the government to secure funding for the upcoming election. Government approval takes a nosedive, a Verite Research survey reveals. On to your top story this evening. Tharushi Karunaratne, an accomplished athlete who recently clinched the gold medal in the women's 800-meter event at the Asian Games, was granted an audience with President Ranil Wickremesinghe at the Presidential Palace in Kandy this morning.
Tharushi Karunaratne was joined by 78 other student athletes from her alma mater, Valala A. Ratnayaka Central College. President Ranil Wickremesinghe, deeply appreciating the exceptional talent exhibited by Tharushi Karunaratne, conveyed his heartfelt congratulations for her historic accomplishment, marking the return of a gold medal to Sri Lanka at the Asian Games after a hiatus of 21 years. The President engaged in a cordial conversation with the student. President Wickremesinghe expressed interest in further enhancing the athletic skills of the students and sought information regarding the facilities required. It was revealed that a substantial sum of 220 million rupees has been allocated for the comprehensive renovation of the sports ground, including the construction of a 200-meter track with 8 lanes, a 300-meter training lane and 4 straight running lanes spanning a distance of 130 meters. The President also posed for a group photograph with Tharushi Karunaratne and the students from the sports school. Following the event, the students were given a tour of the Presidential Palace in Kandy.
The approval rating of the government fell to 9% in October 2023. This is according to the latest round of the Gallup-style Mood of the Nation poll of Verite Research.
Verite Research said that its latest Gallup-style Mood of the Nation poll shows a large reversal in sentiment. The approval rating of the government fell from 21% in June to 9% in October. The present approval rating is close to the 10% that it was in January and October 2022 and February 2023. The survey showed satisfaction with the state of the nation also dropped by half to 6% from 12% in June 2023. The economic confidence score also fell from -44 in June to -62. The Mood of the Nation poll is conducted periodically by Verite Research and is based on an island-wide nationally representative sample of responses.
In some tragic news from Kandy, a 37-year-old woman lost her life after a mound of earth collapsed onto a shop in Kandy.
Nirmala Ratnayaka runs a fruit stall in Rambukwella along the Kandy-Mahiyangane road to make ends meet and support her 2 children. Amidst Sri Lanka's economic crisis, this was Nirmala's only source of income. After a tiring day, Nirmala came home and had gone to her room after having dinner. It was then that tragedy struck.
At around 8:30 last night, she had her meals and served me dinner and went into the room. Our children were in the front and suddenly the amount of earth collapsed onto her. We tried to pull her out but we couldn't. With the help of a JCB, we were able to pull her out of the rubble. We rushed her to the hospital but it was too late as she had already succumbed to her injuries.
Although Nirmala's children were unharmed in the landslide, it robbed them of the love and affection of their mother.
The supply of electricity to 788,235 consumers was suspended in the past 10 months owing to the failure to settle their bills.
The rising cost of living, including a hike in electricity tariffs, taxes and the depreciation of the Sri Lankan rupee, has resulted in Sri Lankans struggling to settle their electricity bills. Against such a backdrop, the Sri Lankan government has increased electricity tariffs thrice so far in 2023. CEB spokesperson Noel Priyanth said the supply of electricity for 120,474 consumers was suspended in August and for 118,481 consumers in July. The supply of electricity for 106,106 consumers was suspended in October.
The CEB General Employees Union says that reasons for the CEB to suffer such massive losses should be looked into by a commission.
With the recent heavy rains experienced in the country, 80% of the electricity provided at present is hydropower. If electricity is produced through hydropower, a unit of electricity would cost about 1 to 3 rupees. With the distribution cost, a unit of electricity would cost 10 rupees, considering the CEB generates a significant profit. However, is there no need to investigate? That should be done. They are burdening the people now. Appoint a commission to investigate this. Why did this happen to the CEB? Who took these decisions? Investigate the reason for this. If not, there would be no meaning to the suffering that the people are going through right now.
කවුද මේ තීරණ ගත්තේ? මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් හොයන්න. නැත්තම් මේ මිනිස්සු මේ දරන බරට සාධාරණයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Gathering views from the general public prior to amending electricity tariffs is a step in the procedure established by law. However, it is blatantly obvious that the so-called meeting to gather public opinion regarding amending the electricity tariffs that was organized on the 18th of October was nothing more than a farce to fool the general public. The Public Utilities Commission had invited the general public to attend this meeting, stating that the CEB had presented a proposal to increase electricity tariffs by 22%. However, on the 18th of October, views of the general public were not gathered based on the proposal to increase tariffs by 22%, but based on a proposal to increase electricity tariffs by 18%. The PUCSL should clarify to the general public as to if this complied with the Gazette published in this regard. Just 48 hours after gathering public opinion regarding amending electricity tariffs, the PUCSL had decided to go ahead and increase tariffs by 18%. The extremely fast pace that the PUCSL adopted to reach this decision is undoubtedly one worth for the Guinness Book of World Records. The PUCSL imposes 13 conditions on the Ceylon Electricity Board. 11 of these conditions had specific timelines during which they must be implemented. However, what's hilarious is the fact that the Commission, in the very same document, had reminded the CEB that none of the conditions imposed by the PUCSL when tariffs were increased on 2 previous occasions this year had been met. One could reasonably imply that the imposition of these conditions by the PUCSL is also a farce, much like the meeting to gather public opinion. Chief among these conditions imposed on the CEB by the PUCSL is the requirement for the CEB to reduce their expenses. However, the continuous mention of this condition to the CEB has become a Sisyphean task at the very least. The largest expense of the CEB is the ad hoc purchase of emergency power, and these purchases were approved by none other than the PUCSL itself. Based on the report sent to the CEB by the PUCSL, the electricity tariff hike that came into effect on the 20th of August is clearly an unjust tariff hike. Await more details on this expose tomorrow on Action TV. In the recent past, allegations were raised over the hard-earned money of the Sri Lankan people that is taxed by the government and is used to procure substandard medicines. Civil organizations and other parties have presented evidence to prove the accuracy of these allegations as well. However, the Ministry of Health said that Sri Lanka is set to receive 54 types of essential medicines, including those used to treat cancer and kidney ailments, in the next week. Minister of Health Dr. Ramesh Patirana said the essential medicines will be worth $58,000.
Sri Lanka is also set to receive medicines and medical aid worth $1 million from the Bangladeshi Foreign Ministry. The Sri Lankan High Commission for the People's Republic of Bangladesh said discussions on the matter are underway with the Minister of Health. The need for a long-term program between the governments of Sri Lanka and Bangladesh for the procurement of medicines has been extensively discussed to address the shortage of medicines in the country.
Information on anomalies in the purchase of medicines that resulted in massive wastage of public funds were revealed at the Parliamentary Subcommittee appointed to probe purchases and medical supplies. It was revealed at the Parliamentary Subcommittee that from the period of 2019 to 2022, medicines worth 400 rupees were purchased as emergency purchases for a price of 4,000 rupees. It was revealed that 286 such emergency purchases were made, and all of them were corrupt transactions. A senior member of the committee said the emergency purchases were made after the COVID-19 pandemic. Drugs that are priced at about 400 rupees were purchased at exorbitant prices between 1,950 rupees to 4,000 rupees. At the Parliamentary Subcommittee, it was revealed that although millions of dollars had been spent on projects that were initially rejected and had been approved later on, these projects had not reaped any results. It was also revealed at the subcommittee that the Health Ministry deals with approximately 10,000 tenders annually, and that majority of them end up as corrupt transactions. A complete report regarding this massive corruption prepared by the subcommittee is to be presented to the Committee on Public Finance.
The Association of Health Professionals made another bombshell revelation today. They say that the manufacturer of the controversial stock of substandard human immunoglobulin had used blood from the National Blood Bank. They also said that the relevant approval was granted by the Secretary to the Ministry of Health.
It was reported to us that this particular businessman is saying that he used blood from the National Blood Bank to manufacture this human immunoglobulin injection. He had obtained blood from the National Blood Bank. He had obtained 150 liters of blood from the National Blood Bank. You cannot manufacture 3,800 vials from 150 liters. Even if there is a possibility to doing so, he had obtained blood citing testing purposes, which means he had done so for educational purposes. We do not implement the entire system when donating blood. The Ministry Secretary had given approval for this businessman to collect the blood. If this blood is mixed by any chance for medicine, many other issues will arise, because we cannot confirm 100% whether this blood is without infections. We urge the CID that, similar to the investigation at the National Blood Bank, investigating what happened at the Technical Assessment Committee is also important to the health sector of the country. The CID has the responsibility of finding out who influenced this.
Minister of Health Ramesh Patirana told Newsfirst that apart from the CID, the minister is also conducting an investigation into the matter.
Do you remember?
There were countless reports about how the hard-earned money of the taxpayers was misused by authorities and the health of the general public put in jeopardy.
Do you remember?
The most recent incident was the serious allegations levelled against the National Medicines Regulatory Authority regarding the standard of drugs and counterfeit drugs, which paved the way for various controversies. The Government Pharmacists Association recently disclosed that the Chief Executive Officer of the NMRA is destroying sensitive documents containing details about the distribution of inferior drugs and counterfeit drugs. The association then filed a complaint with the Criminal Investigation Department regarding this matter.
Do you remember?
This is not the first time that the NMRA has been accused of destroying or deleting such sensitive data. On the 9th of July 2021, 5,623 documents of the NMRA stored on the government cloud was deleted. Making submissions in court, Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Peris revealed that this is the result of a conspiracy by the drug mafia, which imports drugs and equipment into Sri Lanka and earns money illegally.
Maubima Janata Party's inaugural conference was held in Galle today.
The inaugural conference was held at the Galle Municipal Hall under the auspices of the leader of the Maubima Janata Party, Entrepreneur Dilip Jayavira.
අද මේ සභාව දිහා බලන්න මං හිතන්නේ 153ක් නෙමෙයි 170ක් විතර ඉන්නේ කාන්තාව.
Look at this audience today. About 70% is female. Women prioritize the children most. That is why we have thought innovatively and created the party with new leaders. Dilip Jayavira is your child. We request all of you to unite together with us to embark on a new journey towards the prosperity for our children and elders.
සියලු දෙනාගේම සහයෝගය අපට ලබා දෙන ඉස්සල්මින් මගේ වචන ස්වල්පය අවසන් කරනවා. ජය වේවා ජය වේවා.
අපි සතුටු දයක් තැනීමේ උත්සාහයටයි මේ අතපොත් තියලා තියෙන්නේ. එදා ජේ.ආර්. ජයවර්ධනගේ
Today we have laid the foundation to build a happy and a prosperous nation. Even though there may have been certain mishaps in J.R. Jayawardena's manifesto, he knew that if a businessman was made the leader of this country, we could finally develop this country. Look at our party today. We have appointed Dilip Jayavira as the leader of our party in our effort to drive this country towards prosperity.
අද මේ ගාල්ලේදී අපි අතපොත් තබන්නේ. මට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ අපි හොඳ දේශපාලන පරිචයක් තියෙන පිරිස්. කවුරුත් හිත
I have to say that we are people with good political experience. If anyone is of the opinion that this party and I are new to this political arena, they are wrong. I did get involved with the Rajapaksas. I have not even taken 5 cents from them. We did everything for our country. The social capital that we worked hard to protect and the reputation of our businesses is being challenged at present. That is why we decided to directly enter politics. We will make a difference in this country's political system. I have always openly talked about the corruption of the Rajapaksa family, but we never had an alternative option. That is why we found a representative from that family, and that was Gotabaya Rajapaksa. But they themselves turned their back on us. They are responsible for the economic distress the general public faces today on a daily basis.
මේ රටේ අද සුවහසක් මිනිස්සු මේ තරම් ආර්ථිකව දුක් විඳින්නේ ඒ කරපු වැඩේ නිසා කියලා මම මෙහෙම කියන්න ඕනේ.
So in many countries, revenue collection has improved dramatically with the whole digitalization of the economy.
That image, that the black mark that was created is not easy to take it out.
And politicians and the cabinets of ministers have interfered and brought their projects in which are not optimal.
Announce certain policies, the implementation is very weak.
But Sri Lanka, every 2 years, whether it's a government or whether it's a minister or whether it's a chairman, then the marketing strategy changes.
Because in Sri Lanka, political, even though you are called an independent commission, sometimes you are not so much independent.
And the credibility of the political establishment is at a very low ebb.
The People's Platform. ICC Men's Cricket World Cup India 2023 match between Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh tomorrow at 1 p.m. onwards, live on TV1. Also watch it online on www.sirasatv.lk.
Now just imagine if these patients did not have any reactions, what would happen? All these 20,000 odd vials would have bought, 1 billion rupees would have paid, people would have got commissions, and things would have, nobody would have known.
So my argument is there was either a fake document or no document at all when the order was placed. Who is responsible?
We have enough documented charges against these health officers. So now let's see about this immunoglobulin issue. $3 million scam happened. So these are the money that we have to pay.
Immunoglobulin issue. Now this is a masterly minded theft. And an investigation has to be carried out immediately.
Definitely.
Isn't that the responsibility of Ramesh Patrina as the new Minister of Health?
Now this particular way of registration is a process where a drug comes into the country without going through the normal procedure of registration.
Face the Nation, Wednesday nights at 9:30 on TV1.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa expressed the following views regarding tax benefits and election campaign funding.
පහුගිය දවසක දෙවන්ත වංචාවක් සිද්ධ වුණා. බද්ද වැඩි කරන්නට ඉස්සෙල්ලා ඔන්න මෙන්න තියලා මෙට්‍රික් ටොන් 22000ක්
Recently, a huge scam took place. Before increasing the tax, 22,000 metric tons were released to the market at a tax rate of 25 cents. The loss to the government has been estimated at 1 billion. The government is ready to put the burden of the value-added tax on the shoulders of the public. They are putting the tax burden on the shoulders of professionals. They are imposing them, citing low income levels by saying that, knowing that the tax on sugar will be changed, the government is working to save its cronies, the rich and the members of the sugar mafia. The government is incurring a loss of 1 billion rupees by doing this. Why are they doing this? Will they take money from them during the general elections in the future presidential elections? This is a big tax scam. Unfortunately, this government is directly involved in this tax fraud. So immediately find out about the sugar tax fraud and fix it. Immediately impose taxes on the 22,000 metric tons released in secret. We see this as a criminal act.
නිකුත් කරපු මෙට්‍රික් ටොන් 22000ට බදු පනවන්න අපි දකින්නේ මේක සාපරාධී ක්‍රියාවක් හැටියට.
The opposition leader made these remarks at the Sakwala IT program to declare open the 44th Suhuru classroom in the Lankapuram Mahavidyalaya in Madarigiriya. Parliamentarian Radhakrishnan says that the rulers who oppress the people with taxes and price increases do not have the people's mandate.
Today, the current president is thinking about how to postpone the elections. He is appointing a commission for it and thinking about dragging out the process for as long as possible. People can't even drink a plain tea now. The price of a plain tea has gone up by 10 rupees since last night. Prices of kottu roti have also been increased. These are items that the people generally consume, and now those prices have been increased. The root cause for this is the increase of gas prices. Sugar prices has increased. Diesel prices has increased. Only tea prices were low. That is because the tea is supplied by us. That is why we are saying that if he can do so much as a president who came without a mandate, we don't know what else he will do if he gets a mandate and becomes a president.
News First with the people.
Eleven Sri Lankans who were stuck in the Gaza Strip due to the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine arrived in the country early this morning. They arrived via a Qatar Airways flight. Head of the Sri Lankan Representative Office in Palestine, Bennett Kure, said 2 women and 9 children belonging to 2 families are among the group.
A border crossing linking Egypt with the Gaza Strip has been temporarily closed. The Hamas-run government has informed Egyptian officials and other negotiators that it won't allow foreign nationals to leave Gaza until safe passage is secured for wounded Palestinians heading to the Rafah border. The border in the south of the besieged enclave still was expected to open later today. Arab leaders have urged an immediate ceasefire in Israel's military offensive in Gaza. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said an Israeli ceasefire in Gaza would allow Hamas to regroup and carry out further attacks. But he added that Israel had to take every possible measure to prevent civilian casualties in the enclave. US President Joe Biden says that there has been some progress made on securing a so-called humanitarian pause in the fighting. Tens of thousands of people have gathered in the United States Capitol to demand a ceasefire in Gaza as Washington continues to resist calls for an end to the war despite the mounting death toll.
And he is a member of the Palestinian Youth Movement.
The demonstrations in Washington, D.C. directed their anger towards U.S. President Joe Biden, accusing him of enabling genocide against Palestinians. Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant vowed that Israeli forces would find and eliminate Yahya Sinwar, the head of Palestinian group Hamas, in the Gaza Strip. He said, quote, "We will find Sinwar and we will eliminate him," close quote. Reports suggest that the leader of Hamas's armed wing, Mohammed Daif, is another one of the army's top targets. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk strongly deplored the sharp rise cases of anti-Semitism and other hate speech, both online and offline, since 7th October.
The torrent of hateful language being used, including on social media, is abhorrent. International human rights law is clear on this. Any advocacy of national, racial, or religious hatred that constitutes incitement to discrimination, hostility, or violence is prohibited. As tensions and emotions run high, it is the law that must guide us on protecting human rights. States must ensure a safe and enabling space for participation and debate. They cannot unduly restrict participation and debate or critical commentary about the conflict or expressions of solidarity.
President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that the Israel-Gaza war is taking away the focus from the conflict in Ukraine. He said that this was one of the goals of Russia, which launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. And he denied that fighting in Ukraine had reached a stalemate despite a recent assessment to this effect by the country's top military general.
Divisavya, the second leg of the Divisavya program to provide much needed school books and stationery items to school children in Sri Lanka. 6th of November, Balibada.
Dai Darwange Anagati Winwin Divisavya, LOLC Prajasatkaraka Mehevara.
Now just imagine if these patients did not have any reactions. What would have happened? All these 20,000 odd vials would have bought. 1 billion rupees would have paid, people would have got commissions, and things would have, nobody would have known.
So my argument is, there was either a fake document or no document at all when the order was placed. Who is responsible?
We have enough and enough documented charges against these health officers. So now let's see about this immunoglobulin issue. $3 million scam happened. So these are the money that we have to pay.
Immunoglobulin issue. Now this is a masterly minded theft.
And an investigation has to be carried out immediately. Isn't that the responsibility of Ramesh Patrina as the new Minister of Health?
Now this particular way of registration is a process where a drug comes into the country without going through the normal procedure of registration.
Face the Nation, Wednesday nights at 9:30 on TV1.
So in many countries, revenue collection has improved dramatically with the whole digitalization of the economy.
That image, that the black mark that was created is not easy to take it out.
And politicians and the cabinets of ministers have interfered and brought their projects in which are not optimal.
Announce certain policies, the implementation is very weak.
Sri Lanka, every 2 years, whether it's a government or whether it's a minister or whether it's a chairman, then the marketing strategy changes.
Because in Sri Lanka, political, even though you are called an independent commission, sometimes you are not so much independent.
And the credibility of the political establishment is at a very low ebb.
The People's Platform. ICC Men's Cricket World Cup India 2023. Match between Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. onwards. Live on TV1. Also watch it online on www.sirasatv.lk.
Imagine you live in a village where there is no road leading to your village. The bridge at the village is only constructed halfway. Not a day goes by without you having to fear the threat of wild elephants encroaching into your village. For the residents of Ambagahawewa in Kahatagasdigiliya, this is no imagination. This is their reality. Frustrated with the inactivity of authorities to resolve these issues, the residents of this village took to the streets in protest today.
The protest staged at the number 213 Viharasthana junction in the Ambagahawewa Kahatagasdigiliya. More than 1,000 families live in this area. Their main source of income is farming. The villagers say that the roads leading to the village is severely dilapidated. However, the renovation of this road began a year ago at a cost of 153 million rupees.
Indian media is in the process of fabricating claims regarding the presence of Sri Lankan pirate fishing vessels. However, the Sri Lanka Navy stresses that these reports are false and are not supported with any evidence. This was reported by Navy came against a backdrop where the Hindu newspaper had published a report stating that Indian fishermen had been attacked by Sri Lankan pirate fishing vessels. The Hindu reported a group of Sri Lankan pirate fishing vessels had entered Indian waters, attacked Tamil Nadu fishermen and stolen goods worth 200,000 rupees. The report states that the Sri Lankan pirate fishing vessels had carried out these attacks in the seas of Kodiyakkare and Nage. The report adds that the fishermen who were injured in these attacks have been hospitalized and the Indian Coast Guard are investigating the incident. State President of the BJP in Tamil Nadu, Kuppuswamy Annamalai, who recently concluded a visit to Sri Lanka, responded to questions raised by journalists at the Tiruchi airport regarding Sri Lankan pirate fishing vessels.
Our fishermen will be released soon on bail. There are many pirate fishing vessels. We expressed our objection against it.
Newsfirst questioned the media spokesperson of the Sri Lanka Navy regarding the allegations raised by Indian media and Indian politicians about the presence of Sri Lankan pirate fishing vessels. He confirmed that there are no such pirate fishing vessels in the sea of Sri Lanka. Navy media spokesperson said that the Navy has to take great effort to turn back massive Indian fishing trawlers that poach in Sri Lankan waters. The Navy went on to state that such allegations are being levelled by many Tamil Nadu fishermen that poached in Sri Lanka have been arrested. Against such a backdrop, the chairman of the Northern Provincial Fisheries Union responded to these allegations on the presence of pirate fishing vessels in Sri Lanka.
All parties in India are talking about pirate fishing vessels. It is Indian fishermen who are violating our country's sovereignty and encroaching into our waters like pirates. They poach in our waters. They are the pirates.
Indian Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs Nirmala Sitharaman recently concluded a 3-day visit to Sri Lanka. During her stay earlier this week, the Indian Minister for Finance visited Jaffna and Trincomalee in the northern and eastern provinces of Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, today a delegation headed by the Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Ki Zeng Hong, distributed dry rations to groups in the north of Sri Lanka. Dry ration packs worth 7,500 rupees each were distributed among 500 families at the district secretariat in Vaunia today.
We will continue to help our Sri Lanka friends to tide over the current difficult time. The Chinese government has already promised to donate 150 million rupee to Northern Province. Our two countries enjoy long-standing friendship dating back to 2,000 years ago. We all help other province. I just mentioned for the Northern Province, we help the whole island, the whole countries.
India and America they don't like China to come to Sri Lanka. So what's your opinion?
I'm very confused. I help the Sri Lanka local people to tide over the difficult time. Why the USA and India not happy about that. You tell me the reasons. I don't know.
The ever-picturesque Sea of Sri Lanka, an eye-catching spectacle, is a blessing to my nation. Surrounding our mother with the protection of a father.
The Sea of Sri Lanka.
Chief incumbent of the Mihintale Raja Mahaviharaya, Venerable Dr. Walava Hangunawave Dhammaratana Theru warns if the sale of national resources continues, Sri Lanka will become a part of another country in a few years.
2040 විතර වෙනකොට මේ රට ඉන්දියාවේ කොටසක්.
By 2040, this country will be a part of India called Mahabharat, and that map will be opened in the new Parliament of India by Prime Minister Modi. And now they say 2023 will be over, and in another 16 years they are working to make this country a subordinate country of India and China. Our country has been sold to different countries like Russia, America and France. We don't even own a plot of land in this country.
ඉන්දියාවට කොටසක් තියෙනවා. චීනට කොටසක් තියෙනවා. රුසියාවට, ඇමරිකාවට, ප්‍රංශයට වගේ විවිධ රටවල් වලට අපේ රට දැන් විකුණලා ඉවරයි. මෙහෙම බලනකොට මේ රටේ බින්ගංගලක්වත් දැන් අපිට අයිති නැහැ.
Taking a look at some weather updates we just received. Due to landslides in Beragola Bapgoda area of the Colombo-Badula main road, the road will be closed until tomorrow morning. Authorities have advised drivers to use alternate routes.
The official ICC Men's Cricket World Cup India 2023.
Hosts India beat South Africa by 243 runs today in the 37th match of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2023. Cricket fans can watch and listen to all the action of the World Cup via the MTV MBC networks, the official local broadcast rights holder of the tournament. The matches are being streamed live on www.sirasatv.lk. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Primetime News here on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I've been Sanitha Sena Naika. Take care and good night.